Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Nashville, it's time for Nashville Business Radio. Now, here's your host.
And hello again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Nashville Business Radio. I'm John Ray, and folks, this is going to be a good one. Anna Palumbo is with us, and she is with Red Triangle Interior Design. Anna, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Hey, it's a pleasure. Let's talk about you and Red Triangle Interior Design. How are you helping folks out there?
Well, we're kind of a full-service interior design firm where we help people with very small projects like a laundry room remodel all the way to a whole new build where we have relationships with architects and contractors so we can help you design and get it built and then finish off with your hard and soft finishes and help you pick them out until you're ready to move in or open your small business.
I love it. Now, you and I were chatting a little bit before we came on. You've got a history in interior design and space planning that goes back to your childhood.
That is correct. I grew up in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, one of 6 children on an old farmhouse, and it was a lot of work. If anyone's familiar with old farmhouses in Bucks County, they were pretty much was 2 rooms built on top of 2 rooms built on top of with an attic. So the house had an addition and then another addition, but we were still sharing bedrooms and always figuring out how to create our own space. And for me, when I did eventually get my own bedroom, that was how to create my own I'm an artist at heart. So I'm like, well, how am I going to get my space to draw and paint and everything? So I took my closet of my bedroom and I put my drafting table in there and I attached a bar to the space outside of my closet so I could have my own studio and a closet at the same time. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. So you've got it in your bones, really.
I have, yes. And innovative and imaginative ways to create new spaces. Yeah.
That's awesome. Now you were a fine arts major, art history. You were involved in the pottery world for a long time. Why the journey into interior design?
Thank you for asking that question. I really am proud of this journey because it's led me to where I really feel like I belong and I love it. So when I went to college the first time, I knew I wanted to do something in the world of art. I love drawing, painting, like I mentioned, but I didn't want to be a starving artist. So I went to school for the first time for art history. And I double majored in art history and religion. So I would be able to know all the stories in the paintings of the Renaissance and you know, where the illuminated manuscripts came from and stuff like that. So I graduated. And then I got married. And instead of going to get my master's or my doctorate, I got married and we started having kids. And in the meantime, I was working in pottery. I took a night class in pottery, and I've always been very interested in the 3D world and how things are made, how things are created from the ground up. So I worked really hard and just taking this class. And one day someone comes in, a teacher, and she goes, "Hey, Anna, you're really good," because I was helping someone else make a bowl on the pottery wheel. And she's like, "Anna, you're doing really good with that student. Would you sub for me at the Wayne Art Center?" Which is Wayne, Pennsylvania. I'm like, hey, why the heck not? Why wouldn't I? So I subbed over at the Wayne Art Center, even though I wasn't a teacher. And they're like, they just so happen at that time to need teachers. And they offered me a position for a Wednesday night class. And I said, sure, why not? So I taught pottery for 14 years there.
Mm.
Yeah, 14 years. I was the
Wow.
longest continuous running class at the Wayne Art Center in the history of the Wayne Art Center.
Mm.
My Wednesday night class. And I loved it. And I sold my pottery. And but then my husband got they asked him to move down to Tennessee, his company. And it was an offer that as a family of, because now in all of that, we had 3 kids. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it was an offer that we just couldn't refuse. It was
Sure.
fantastic. So, and I was, at the time, I didn't want to sell my pottery anymore. It was taking away, trying to make money out of it. It was taking away the love of just creating.
Mm.
And I thought, well, this is a great opportunity to reinvent myself. So we moved to Franklin, Tennessee in 2015.
Mm.
I sold my wheel, I sold my kiln, and we moved down here. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And my, at the time she was 12 and now she's 18 going off to college. She said, hey, Mom, when we sold our house up in Philly, a lot of people asked who lived there and asked if they were an interior designer. And up in Philly, that didn't even enter my brain. I was just making our house look welcoming and it just was like, this is what feels good. So she's like, why don't you go back to school for your interior design degree? I'm like, well, why not? Let me do it. So I went to O'Moore College of Design, which is now at Belmont. I was part of that transition when Belmont bought the school. So I'm a Belmont graduate, and took me 2.5 years part-time to get my interior design degree. And at that time, I started working at a furniture store. And then also I decided when I left, to start my own business. So
wow.
That's my story of coming down here. And
wow, that's an awesome story. I've got to zero in on one piece of that.
Yeah,
though. Go. Your daughter was 12?
Yeah.
Okay, folks, lesson here from Anna. Your 12-year-old does have wisdom. It may not seem that way sometimes, but your 12-year-old can come out with pearls of wisdom for you.
Absolutely.
That's terrific.
It is possible.
That's terrific. Now, just a quick bunny trail, pottery. Yeah. So is that I'm sure you had a lot of different folks in your class. Pottery strikes me as one of those crafts which you can really, it's a de-stressor.
Oh, yes. So there were so many times, because Wednesday night I'd get there. It was 6:30. It was a 6 to 10. No, I'd get there at 6:30, but it was a 7 to 10 class, a 3-hour class. And all of my students primarily were after work students. And it ended up being like a therapeutic community, and we all knew each other's stories, and because I had a lot of continuing students. And I even had one student who was new, and she's like, did you used to be a bartender? Because it was just, because just how I know eventually we're going to lead to this, but my why of why I do things, my business coach helped me find out is relationships.
Oh.
So to me, the getting to know someone and building a relationship so I can understand them better and they can understand me better is more important than anything else. And like, once you have that relationship established, you can like build on it. So I just was that, and I didn't know about the specific why at the time. I just enjoy people and talking and being around people and helping them get what they want. And as a pottery teacher, they wanted to make a bowl that they could eat soup out of. And I'm like, well, I want to help you do that.
I love it.
So
yeah, that's great. So, folks, we're here speaking with Anna Palumbo, and she's a principal founder of Red Triangle Interior Design, and retired pottery teacher who recommends pottery for de-stressing. So there you go. Yeah. Well, you brought up your why, so let's talk about that. Why?
Okay. So now in interior design, I go into someone's house and I ask them, besides what they want, what are their pain points? Say I'm going to remodel a kitchen, help them figure out a better place to cook and celebrate their family, or invite people in for dinners, and you know, they might, one of their pain points might be a wall that is in their way, and they just cannot seem to figure out how to make it the space an open concept type space. And so I mentioned before, I have a great imagination. It's kind of kooky sometimes, but it's a fantastic imagination that I've grown to appreciate and listen to and bring into my clients' spaces. So I'm not afraid to tell them and show them something that they, you know, wouldn't even think of. They were like, is that really possible to do? Is that really possible to make my small kitchen big enough that I could entertain 20 people? So outside of the box.
Yeah. So let's talk about interior design's a big subject. Let's talk about the work you do, and specifically the types of clients that you work with. So
what I love to do and what I'm really good at and what I've grown to really make valuable for my company is space planning, and that imagination, that thinking outside the box, and the ability to show someone innovative ways to use their space or grow their space. And then within my company, I have two great full-time employees who are masters at, well, I can't say masters yet because that takes like millions and millions of hours, but they're really great experts at fixtures and finishes and color. And so not only am I able to bring my ability to space plan well and to innovate, I bring people to the client who listen and know what colors will be good in their space and how they would be able to get comfort out of certain chairs and things like that.
Awesome. So I'm curious about something I see here in the show notes, and we discussed a little bit earlier before we came on. Evidence-based design. Let's define what that is for folks that don't know, like me.
Okay.
And how you incorporate that in your practice.
Well, not just from what we just all went through, the pandemic and everything, but even before that, I've always been. I grew up. My parents were macrobiotics, so the six of us grew up. Eating healthy and really being aware of how our environment controls and influences how we live and are in life. And evidence-based design speaks to that for me through interior design. So evidence-based design came about through making healthcare places and hospital design better for patients so they can heal better and quicker and then go home. Mm-hmm. But I like to take this scientific methodology into residential spaces also. So evidence-based design, the technical definition, is a scientific analysis that emphasizes the use of data required. I'm reading this. The use of data acquired in order to influence the design process. And this in hospitals or residential spaces or any space. It measures the physical and psychological effects of the built environment on its users. So basically what it means is taking a piece of work that's been evidenced, like I have up here right now, the lighting in the home and health, a systemic review, reading that and seeing how I can help to incorporate this evidence that I've found into the pain points of my clients. So this one review is on the key aspect of housing quality and it's in light. And light is so important for not just visual performance and safety, but it also is huge and vital in regulating our human psychological functions and how we go about our life. And if we don't get enough natural sunlight, people can get depressed, or they can not live up to their fullest extent in their life. So I like to bring in actual evidence of into my design.
Yeah, I love that, because what you're really getting at the next question I was going to ask, and that is, I know you do a lot of work with, and some of this, of course, is what's obviously brought on by the pandemic, home offices, backyard offices.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure some people, kind of tilt their head at that and say, why are you spending money on to redesign a home office, right? Particularly if we're going to go back to work. Why do that?
Why do that? Because not everyone's going to go back to work. We are all going to probably have a melding, a combination of the both, work from home and going back to the work office. But if you are primarily going to work from home, the space that you use as your office needs to be separate from your home space. It's so important from the evidence that I've read and these scientific research things that I've gone through and I've really looked into. The separation between work and home needs to happen in order for not just a person to be successful in their work environment and really, I can't think of the darn word right now, but really do a good job.
Yeah.
Really,
yeah. Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
Right. And then come home and have a separation so they can be a good parent or a good wife or husband.
Sure.
So if they don't have that clear separation, you don't really know when, as a person, it's just not healthy to do that. So I came up with some help from a friend of mine who I think was having trouble himself figuring out how to separate the two. And he's like, you should design a space in someone's backyard where they can have an office. And I'm like, that's a great idea. Because I was sitting at my dining room table because my husband had to come home and take my office. And I'm sitting at my dining room table being bombarded by 3 kids every 5 minutes, and like not being able to really concentrate on my work and get into my work.
Right.
So I'm like, a backyard office would be wonderful. So I designed 3 different backyard offices, different designs, and it's 250 to 300 square feet of an office that you can put in your backyard. It's not super expensive. And not only do you have a space to work, but you have a place to leave and take a break from without just being in your home all the time. There's a clear separation then of home and work. And if you don't want a backyard office, it can be a music studio. We can, really make it acoustically perfect for recording. It could be a she shed or a man cave, whatever you want to call it, or a kid's place. You could make it into a workout studio and have, do yoga classes in it. It's just an ideal place to really have a separation.
Yeah, that's terrific. Anna Palumbo is with us, folks, and she is with Red Triangle Interior Design. Anna, what you're talking about is that physical separation makes so much sense to me, because I know I've heard people talk about how, when that computers on the dining room table or in the bedroom or whatever. And it's, it seems to cry out to them to come over here and do some work. Right. And when you have that physical separation, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
When you do a backyard office, is this something that's hard to get? What are the obstacles to that? I mean, are there like neighborhood covenants sometimes that you have, or what are the obstacles that people need to think about?
If you are in an HOA, a subdivision that has an HOA, there are definite bylines of how and what can be built in your backyard.
Mm-hmm.
Besides that, if you don't have an HOA, the only thing that we would encounter is local codes and making sure we stayed within the setback lines.
Mm-hmm.
And I do all of that research and work for you. So you don't have to come in knowing what your setback lines are. Some people may not even know what that is. I do that research for you. I find your local codes and make sure that could be built on your property.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about, you do work with business. So it's not just business in the home, but business in commercial spaces.
Yeah.
Talk about the importance of design in interior design in a business.
Okay. I'd love to do that. So interior design is important in a business because when someone enters your space, say it's a coffee shop or a small clothing boutique or a store that only sells pillows, you don't want to go into that space feeling unwelcome and not knowing really what you are entering. So it needs to not only sell and feel like when you enter, it needs to not only know, the customer needs to not only know what they are going to be buying, but there needs to be a clear path of travel. Mm-hmm. Between different displays. There needs to be a clear, specific way to get to someone who is working there. So if they've got questions, it needs to have, if it has a bathroom, it needs to be accessible for ADA. Again, I've got access to all those codes, mm-hmm. and I can help you design ADA accessible areas. And if it's an old building, we can grandfather in certain spaces. So I want the business to be successful. And in order to do that, and in order for them to sell what they are selling, they need to be able to, through their interior design and the feeling of their space, get to that destination.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would think that helps customers, whether it's a B2B or B2C.
Yeah.
There's a sense of quality there that really comes through, and people attribute that in turn to the product or service.
Yes, absolutely. And so if they are willing to spend the time and money to put into those aspects of their design, then the client feels that and is appreciative of that. Mm-hmm. Some people would think I'm crazy, but there really is an energy to spaces. And when you go into spaces, you can feel whether it's good or not. Mm-hmm. So I like to bring that positive energy of myself, because I'm a basically positive, upbeat person, to my design and my space planning and to my clients.
Now, I've got to ask before we get into one other area. I've got to ask, Red Triangle.
Yeah.
How did you come up with that name?
Well, I kind of love this story. So it took a while. When I first opened my business, I named it something different. And then I found out that there was another company in Colorado, which was named the same thing. So I had to go through a name change. I didn't have to, but I wanted to. I wanted to be individual. Because one of 6 kids, that's important. I needed to be me, not my sister. So I thought about a lot of things. I thought about the street I grew up on, New Galena Road. I'm like, New Galena interior design sounds good. Chalfont, because that was the crucial years of that has made me, whether they were good or bad. That's who I am today. And then I thought about, because my father, he's still alive, and he just sold his business to my sister, but he is a builder, carpenter, and on this old farmhouse, because it was old, it was like, to me as a kid, it felt like 6 miles away from the road where we had to walk to get the bus. It wasn't 6 miles. It was maybe 1/8 of a mile. It was really short, 1/4 of a mile. Now, looking back at it, it wasn't that long, but we called it the long driveway. And so we would have to walk down there as children and wait for the bus, the shame train, in the rain, the snow. And I remember days where we'd be out there in the snow and we hadn't gotten the call that school was off, because they still had school when it snowed. It's not like Tennessee. When it snowed, you went to school still. And, we'd be out there for 20 minutes and the bus hadn't come. And like, well, maybe school's not happening. But so my father, realizing that he needed to protect his children at the end of the driveway, took some old red barnwood and created a pyramid at the end of our driveway, a structure with a seat on the inside, a little bench, and on the outside was all red barnwood. And he put it on the corner facing where the bus comes. So we were inside, we'd sit down on the bench and we'd wait and be able to see if the bus came, and then come out right at the end in the rain or snow. And there was one time too, I filled up my little red wagon and moved out to the red triangle at the end of the drive. I moved out of the house and put all my stuff up inside of it. Didn't last very long. And so when I moved back, so that red triangle as a child was really important, because not only did it protect me and my siblings from the elements waiting for the bus, when we were out in the car or I was being brought home from somewhere else and I saw that red triangle, I was like, oh, yes, I'm almost home. I'm almost home where I'll be warm. I'll be safe. I'll be loved. I'll be wanted. I'll be comfortable. I'm almost to a place where I know that I can just relax and be me. I'm almost home. So when I thought about all of that and what I do for my clients, I'm like, well, that has to be my name, because I want to bring to everybody that I encounter their own red triangle, so that they feel the same things that I used to, seeing my red triangle.
Hey, that's a great story. I love that story. So I would love it, Anna, as we wind down the show here, if you would share maybe a success story. I mean, someone, you don't have to mention names, of course, but someone who's has really experienced, a lot of good out of the transformation you bring to their space. All
right. I'm going to talk about, I'm going to say their name because it's a business and I'd love to bring them business. It's called Eric and Christopher. They're from out of Percy, Pennsylvania. And I designed their store retail space in Atlanta's America's Mart, where people who have stores go and shop for and buy merchandise for their stores wherever they are. And what Eric and Christopher do, it's just Christopher now, but they kept the name. What Christopher does is they make pillows, basic linen pillows with screen printed animals on the front, or screen printed. You can get it whatever you want, or you can order in bulk. And so their space was open on 3 sides. And I had to really think about how someone was going to approach their store from every space and really see, like I was talking about before, see what they were selling. Yeah. So, so I came up with taking old chairs, like, you go to thrift stores or yard sales and people are always selling chairs. So I bought for them a bunch of chairs and we took the legs off and we put them, because what else? Pillows are for chairs, right? And we hung them on the wall, painted them in the same color as the wall, hung them on the wall around their logo and their name, and then put a pillow on each of those chairs. So the whole wall, because I'm like, how in an innovative and interesting way can you put pillows on a wall besides just shelves? So we hung chairs, put pillows on the chairs. And I have to say, Christopher is like, he was Joanne and that HGTV, their Magnolia, Joanne and whatever games. Yeah.
Whoever those two are.
Yeah, whoever those two are.
Joanna and Chip, right?
Chip, yes.
Yeah.
So in her home, she has an Eric and Christopher pillow in her mudroom.
There you go.
Yeah. And so through the creation of their space, their business. I'm not saying I helped to take Eric and Christopher to the next level. It's really a fantastic space from every viewpoint. And that's was one of my most favorite projects and one of the most successful ones.
What a great story. And, folks, if you are dying to see this and don't want to make the trip to Atlanta, you don't have to. Go to Anna's site, redtriangleinteriordesign.com, and you can see some pictures of renderings of what you described right there. It's awesome. So what a great story and great work. Well, Anna, this has been great, and we could keep talking for a while, and I'd rather talk to you than those two in Waco. I don't know even who they are, but I don't even know who they are, but we're glad we caught you before you have your TV show. So thank you. But no, seriously, if we could get to the most important question, which is for those that have heard something that makes them want to be in touch and maybe engage you in your services, how can they do that?
Phone number 267-421-4239. Call me, text me, email Anna@redtriangleinteriordesign.com. I look back at that now. I should have shortened all of it, but it is what it is. You got to spell it all out.
No problem.
And then through my website too. Yeah. I have an Instagram and LinkedIn profile also.
Yep. And folks, if you need Anna to connect you with her daughter and provide business consulting advice, she could do that too, right? So.
Yes. She is headed back up north, though, for college in a few weeks. So.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. Well, kudos to her and best wishes to her as well. Anna Palumbo. I'm sorry. Anna Palumbo. Okay. I'm sorry. Anna Palumbo. I was doing so well. Anna Palumbo is with us with Red Triangle Interior Design. Anna, this has been great. Thanks so much for coming on the show. Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. It was fun. Folks, just a quick reminder that you can find our show, Nashville Business Radio, on all the major podcast apps. Yes, we're on all of them. Nashville Business Radio is the search term. And I've got a bold ask for you, which is to go find the show on your favorite podcast app and subscribe. But don't just subscribe. Give us a 5-star review. It's not about me. It's not about Business RadioX. It's about great entrepreneurs and business leaders like Anna who do great work, and we want them to be found. So they deserve to be found and to be their work to be shared. So if you could give us a great review, subscribe to the show, that would help us help them. So thank you in advance for doing that. And if you want to see our complete archive of shows, and you're not you're near your favorite computer, or not on maybe listening to it by podcast, you can find all our shows at NashvilleBusinessRadioX.com. So for my guest, Anna Palumbo, I'm John Ray. Join us next time here on Nashville Business Radio.